Alright, so here's a quick introduction into physician performance, helping you understand questions like, is this physician profitable, and more. Before we jump into profitability, we have encounters by day. Encounters are going to drive a large portion of a physician's profitability, so tracking that over time is useful. Here on the vertical axis we have encounters by day, and on the horizontal axis we have the quarters. Depending on your reporting structure with your physicians, this could be monthly, it could be quarterly, it could be twice a year, or even once a year. It just all depends on how you track that. So what you want to do is, based off of prior years, set targets for the upcoming year, and then help your physicians reach those targets. Ways to do that is to increase your scheduled slots for patients. You could also improve the layouts of your locations to help with the flow of patients. You can improve your care workflows, and that includes improving your technology to help patients and physicians move quicker. And you could also increase your physician extender roles, for instance, getting scribes so that your physicians don't have to do all the coding, but scribes can carry part of that load. So just building a team really around your physicians so that they can see more patients per day. So jumping here into profitability, we have profitability here on the vertical axis, and on the horizontal, again, we have quarters. Depending on your reporting structure, you could always change that. Really the first step here is to let your physicians know where they stand. So if we were to start this in 2015, we could show this physician, look, you're not profitable currently, but what our goal is to make you profitable. So here in 2016, that physician becomes profitable, and they hold it in 2017. So this is really the picture of what you'd want to see. Not all your physicians are going to be profitable, but your goal is to make them profitable, and without burning them out. You don't want to really burn out your physicians and then lose them because you're trying to unsustainably increase your profitability. So again, ways to do this: improve your contract rates. So that's part of the contract management process. But improving your rates will help improve your physician's profitability as well. Increase those physician extender roles. Improve layouts, all things that we covered on the prior slide carry over here. So this is care-specific reimbursement per day. So this would require that you convert or you capture the RVU data coming from the CMS, and you only are looking at physician RVUs. And what you could see here is by day for the physician, by day for the physician, how much RVUs are they generating, or Medicare allowable dollars, but specifically on the physician RVU side. It gives you a better way to view their reimbursement, is what it does, because you're allocating only what they, let's say the government says they're entitled to. Medicare allowable by encounter. So this is going to help you understand, as the government changes rates over time, how is that impacting your physician's billing. You also could, with analyses like this, find physicians that are either under or over billing, because you'll see how their Medicare allowable encounter changes over time. In terms of, again, profitability by day, you could also create matrices to help compare physicians. So in that prior slide, we were looking at one physician. Here, each dot represents a physician, and what that lets you do is compare physicians. And you could say, and this is our most profitable physician up here. They're doing 20 encounters by day. Probably means they're doing surgery or more expensive procedures, since it's only a 20 a day. Whatever the case may be, this lets you compare physicians, and then your best physicians, you could tease out what they do well, and then apply that to the physicians that are less profitable. Similar here, we have encounters by day. So what's the Medicare allowable by encounter on the vertical axis, and then what are the encounters by day? So for instance here, this physician up here is seeing 60 patients a day, and the average Medicare allowable is just around $112. This would be for essentially level 2 to level 3 clinic visits is what you're looking at here. So the question here is, how has this physician developed methods to see all these patients? And then this physician struggling to provide that cost-effective care. So you want to, again, tease out what the best physicians do, and then make sure you carry that out across all your physicians. Next thing here is cost of care. So on the vertical axis, we have what's the cost of care per encounter for these physicians, and then again, what's their encounters by day. And what this model is showing here is essentially what would be considered clustering. So certain physician groups seem to be clustered, and you can see that here. The idea again here is, through matrices, you could really start to learn, use them as a way to identify pockets, and then you could start to study those pockets and capture the best practices they have, and really push that across the organization. One thing with physicians is that your payers or your insurances are probably going to run some sort of auditing process on your physicians and on your group. It's best to really run this on yourself as well. You want to get ahead of any issues that you have with payers due to either overbilling, underbilling, and the better your internal auditing processes, the stronger they or the more they're going to trust you in terms of your ability to bill correctly. Hopefully improving your revenue cycle and that trust with them, which hopefully will show up in your contractor rate in the long run. This is also up the line of CPT audits. Here, essentially, you have a spectrum of CPTs, and you'd expect them to be billed at certain rates. And what we're seeing here in this first column is that CPT1 here, for instance, is being underbilled, and CPT4 is being overbilled. Again, your payers, your insurances, the best ones are going to run audits like this, and it's best to run them on yourself so you could get ahead of any issues. You could educate your physicians on how to bill appropriately, also your scribes if you have scribes. So it's really just a best practice to audit yourself and really build that trust with your payers. So that's just a quick overview of what's possible. There's a lot of other charts and a lot of other metrics that could be tracked. If you need any help in terms of taking advantage of this data and structuring your data correctly, please reach out and we could help.